The day the game system glitched, I was horrified to discover my online girlfriend's location was in the university building right next door. Shun Qingli, the school's universally acknowledged Ice Queen, was staring at my phone screen with a half smile. You seemed to enjoy calling me wifey in the game, didn't you? Her fingertips traced my Adam's apple. Cat got your tongue now. After that, she started bringing me bento boxes filled with love every day, forcing me to eat them in public. She'd go through my phone, checking all my female contacts. Yet when my advisor was giving me a hard time, she snatched the phone and said, I wrote the thesis. If you have a problem, take it up with me. Until one day, while I was live streaming my game, she suddenly appeared on camera and kissed my earlobe. Babe, it's time to log off and be with me. The live chat exploded. Isn't that our school's #1 beauty? My phone screen suddenly went dark. Immediately after, a glaring red warning box popped up like a bleeding eye. Warning, an unknown error has occurred with the system's location function. Some users' real-time location information may be displayed abnormally. I cursed under my breath, my fingers jabbing irritably at the screen, trying to close the damn notification. I was in the middle of a sweet duo queue with my e-girlfriend, Little Soft Candy. This was the girl I'd spent 3 sleepless nights and all my simping skills to woo in the game. Her voice was so sweet it could give you a cavity, and every gid she cooed made my heart tremble. We'd never met, but her profile picture was an adorable cat-eared lowly. Her social media was only visible for 3 days at a time, and she'd occasionally post a blurry corner of a selfie showing slender, pale fingers. A soft girl, no doubt. This ranked match was crucial. It was my chance to carry her to the king tier and solidify my glorious image as her king of the jungle Gidge. Gidge, watch your back. Little Soft Candy's soft, dowy exclamation came through my headset, tinged with a playful, scolding tone. Don't worry, babe. Watch me work. My adrenaline surged. My fingers flew across the screen, practically creating sparks. With a slick dash, I dodged the enemy assassin's backstab, then countered with a combo that took out their squishy target. Wow, Gidge, you're amazing. Her admiration flowed through the connection, more potent than any stimulant. I was grinning from ear to ear, about to brag a little more, when my eyes unintentionally swept over Little Soft Candy's icon in my friends list. What the fuck? Next to her avatar, the little icon for real-time distance, usually grayed out, was now eerily lit up. Beside it, a line of small text read, Distance, 23 meters. 23 meters? My scalp instantly went numb. A chill shot up from the soles of my feet straight to the top of my head. My heart felt like it was seized by an icy hand, hammering against my ribs so hard it ached. Impossible. The fucking system must be bugging out. Little Soft Candy had clearly told me she went to university in a warm, coastal city in the south, a world away from a northern tech bro like me. 23 meters? What kind of a sick joke is this? I snapped my head up like a startled rabbit, my panicked eyes scanning the large lecture hall. It was an afternoon public lecture, and the seats were sparsely filled. I was in the third-to-last row by the window. 23 meters. 23 meters. My gaze swept like a searchlight over the few heads in the rows in front of me, then jerked toward the window. Outside was the skywalk connecting this building, the Qiuji building, to the Mingli building next door. The Mingli building. In a straight line from here. Isn't that just about 20-something meters? I stared intently at a window on the 3rd floor of the Mingli building opposite. The afternoon sun was a bit glaring, reflecting off the glass, making it impossible to see inside. But the sense of that distance was like a cold needle, making my eyes ache. Gidge, why aren't you moving? Did you disconnect? Through my headset, Little Soft Candy's confused voice held a note of concern. My throat was dry, as if clogged with sandpaper. I couldn't force out a single word. My fingers hovered stiffly over the screen, my palm instantly soaked in a cold sweat. A system glitch? Or was she really in that building across from me? The same Little Soft Candy who called me Gidge in that soft voice every day, who'd whine for the blue buff, who'd whimper and cry whenever she died, was just 20-something meters away from me. The thought slithered into my brain like a venomous snake, bringing with it a dizzying wave of fear. I pinched my thigh hard. Pain. I wasn't dreaming. Gidge, are you still there? Don't scare me. Little Soft Candy's voice now carried a faint, almost imperceptible trace of nervousness. Just then, behind that reflective window on the third floor of the Mingli building, it seemed, a figure moved. Through the dozens of meters and the glare on the glass, I couldn't make out a face, but I could feel it, a gaze piercing through the space, pinning me precisely where I sat. It was cold, viscous, and carried the playful air of a predator examining its prey. Every hair on my body stood on end in an instant. An indescribable chill shot madly up my spine, instantly freezing me to the bone. Run only this one word remained, screaming frantically in my mind. My hands fumbled, grabbing the textbook and phone from the desk with such a violent motion that I nearly knocked over the water cup beside them. I paid no mind to the professor's disapproving glare from the podium, nor to the anxious calls of Little Soft Candy coming from my earphones. Brother? Brother, what's wrong? Say something. I ripped out the earphone cord and, as if a ghost were chasing me, ducked my head, hunched my back, and slipped out the back door as fast as I could. The corridor was empty. The afternoon sun spilled in through the tall windows, warm and golden, yet it couldn't dispel the chill seeping from my bones. I practically stumbled towards the stairwell, my arms and legs moving in awkward unison. My heart hammered against my ribs, so hard it made my vision go black. I didn't dare stop until I had bolted down 2 flights of stairs and reached the first-floor lobby. Leaning against the cold wall, I gasped for air. Safe! Safe for now. Wiping the cold sweat from my forehead, I looked back up the stairwell, my heart still pounding with fear. It was empty. No one was chasing me. The heart that had leaped into my throat began to settle, just a little. It had to be a system bug. How could Little Soft Candy possibly be here? And in the Mingli building, of all places, the Mingli building belonged to the business school, filled with future social elites, the chosen ones. They were a world apart from a rough guy like me, holed up in the engineering building, tapping out code. I looked down at the phone clutched in my hand, its screen now dark. My own pathetic reflection stared back at me. Face pale, hair a mess, eyes wide with terror. Like a fucking idiot. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart and chaotic thoughts. Right, it's a bug. It has to be. I unlocked my phone and opened my WeChat chat with Little Soft Candy. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I hesitated, wondering how to explain my sudden disconnection. I couldn't very well say, "Babe, I suspect you're a creep who's located in the building next to me." So I freaked out and ran. Could I? After much deleting and rewriting, I finally managed to type out a sentence. "Babe, my phone just crashed." So pissed. I could have gotten a pentakill that round. After sending it, I stared nervously at the screen, waiting for that familiar pink bunny avatar to pop up. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Time seemed to stretch on. At the top of the chat window, the typing. Notification flashed for an instant, then disappeared. My heart sank with it. She saw it. Why isn't she replying? Whenever I disconnected before, she would always reply in a second, bombarding me with a barrage of aggrieved-looking sticker packs. A sense of unease, like a creeping vine, began to wrap around me, tightening its grip. I ran a hand through my hair in frustration and decided to leave this place that was making me so anxious. Just as I turned to walk out of the lobby, a movement in my peripheral vision caught my eye. The glass door at the side of the lobby was being pushed open from the outside. A tall, slender figure walked in, silhouetted against the somewhat harsh afternoon sun. The light outlined a perfect physique. Long legs, a slim waist. Her proportions were stunning. A simple white shirt and light blue jeans, looking fresh and clean. But as my gaze traveled up that figure and I saw her face clearly, Buzz, it was as if 10,000 beehives had exploded in my brain at once. In that instant, all the blood in my body seemed to freeze, turning to shards of ice. Then in the next second, it ignited, rushing back to my heart in a mad torrent, the impact making my vision darken in waves. Shun Qingli, how could it be her? Me, the perennial underachiever of the computer science department, and Shun Qingli, the famous Ice Queen and campus belle of the business school. We were supposed to be 2 parallel lines that would never cross. Everything I knew about her came from those viral posts on a campus forum and the late-night bull sessions in the men's dormitory. Universally acknowledged as a top-tier beauty. a super scholar who consistently ranked first in her major. Her family background was said to be so powerful that even the school's board of directors had to be polite to her father. Her suitors could form a line from the academic building to the school gate. Among them, no shortage of rich second-generation kids who drove supercars to class. But towards all her admirers, she had only one attitude: indifference. She was as cold as the Siberian permafrost, as proud as an ice lotus on a snow-capped peak. She was the unattainable goddess all the guys at school agreed could only be admired from a distance. Why would she be in the Choji building? This was the territory of us engineering dogs, and she was walking towards me one step at a time. Her pace was unhurried, her high heels tapping against the polished marble floor, creating a crisp, rhythmic sound. Clack, clack, clack. Each sound felt like a footstep on my frayed nerves. The sunlight streamed through the tall glass doors, casting a long shadow behind her. Her face, now free from the glare of the light, was clearly visible. The candid photos on the forum didn't capture even a tenth of her aura. Her skin was a cool-toned white, so fine you couldn't see a single pore. She had a high-bridged nose, and her lips were a natural crimson. The corners of her mouth seemed to hold a naturally slight, upward curve, making her appear languid even when she wasn't smiling. But her eyes were the deadliest. Her pupils were a deep black, like black jade submerged in a cold pool. At this moment, they held no emotion, gazing over calmly. Her gaze landed on me. No, it landed on the phone I was clutching tightly in my hand. I was frozen in place, as if under a binding spell, unable to move. My mind went blank, filled only with a deafening roar. Escape? My legs felt as if they were filled with lead, too heavy to lift. Explain? My mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. I could only watch, wide-eyed, as she drew closer and closer. Her clean, pleasant scent, carrying a hint of pressure, enveloped me clearly as the distance between us shrank. I could even see the reflection of my own stupid, terror-twisted face in those beautiful eyes beneath her thick lashes. She stopped just a step away from me. She tilted her head slightly, her gaze finally moving from my phone screen to my pale face. Then she smiled, not a polite, distant smile, but a curve of her lips that was breathtakingly beautiful, carrying a hint of amusement, a hint of mocking knowingness. That smile was devastatingly beautiful, but it made the blood in my veins run completely cold. She leaned in slightly, getting closer. The clean scent grew stronger. I could even feel the faint stir of air from her breath. She extended her index finger. The tip was round, the nail neatly trimmed and clean. That finger didn't touch me. Instead, it hovered in the air and gently tapped at my still-lit phone screen. On the screen was my WeChat chat with Little Soft Candy. That pink bunny avatar seemed incredibly glaring at this moment. She spoke. Her voice wasn't soft and sweet like in the game. It was clear and cool, like a mountain stream striking jade, possessing a unique magnetism. Her tone was slow and deliberate, laced with a lazy amusement. In the game, calling me wifey. She paused, those bottomless black eyes staring directly into my own, which had lost focus from extreme shock. You seemed to enjoy it, didn't you? Boom! A clap of thunder exploded in my head without warning. It shattered my soul. It blasted all feeling from my limbs. Little Soft Candy. The Little Soft Candy with the lethally cute avatar and the sickeningly sweet voice was Shun Qingli, the legendary Ice Queen, the campus belle Shun Qingli, who was said to look down on everyone and scorn all her suitors. I fucking, in the game, every day, to her. Wifey, blue bus for you. Don't be scared, wifey, I'm here. You're amazing, wifey. Kiss me, babe. I'll carry you again next round. Those greasy, slick words meant to flatter and show off now returned like countless boomerangs, whistling through the air to pierce me viciously, piercing me until I was covered in wounds, piercing me until I wished I could dig a hole on the spot and crawl into it. An immense sense of shame and overwhelming terror engulfed me in an instant, like a tsunami. I stood rigid, like a weathered stone statue. My throat felt as if it were stuffed with a red-hot branding iron, dry, painful, and seared to the point where I couldn't make sound. I could only stare, my pupils dilated from extreme shock and fear, fixed on the face before me, So close, so breathtakingly beautiful, and so bone-chillingly cold. She seemed quite satisfied with my reaction. The amused smile on her lips deepened. She raised her hand. That well-defined, pale and slender hand didn't reach for my phone. Instead, slowly, with an air of absolute command, it reached for my neck. Her fingertips were cool. They gently landed on my Adam's apple. Then, unhurriedly, the pad of her finger traced the curve of my Adam's apple, an extremely slow caress, as if toying with an interesting plaything. An indescribable shiver, a mixture of intense, tingling, and hair-raising dread, instantly shot out from that small patch of skin she touched, racing madly through my entire body. My whole body shuddered violently. I almost leaped into the air. Now, she tilted her head, leaning even closer, her warm breath brushing faintly against my ear. Her voice dropped lower, tinged with a wicked amusement. Why so quiet? Boom! The last string in my mind, the one called reason, finally snapped. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, I shot back a large step. My back slammed against the cold wall with a thud, making me see stars. Ignoring the pain, I clutched my neck in terror, as if it had just been licked by a venomous snake. The lingering, cool sensation from her touch was like a maggot clinging to my bones, impossible to shake off. You. My lips trembled, my voice shaking so badly the words came out broken, unable to form a sentence. Shen Qingli, seeing me retreat in such a sorry state, she didn't get angry at all. Instead, she looked as if she'd just seen something incredibly amusing. The wicked smile on her lips deepened. She slowly retracted her hand, her fingertips rubbing together as if savoring the moment. Who else? She asked, her tone matter of fact. Who did you think it was? Who did I think it was? I thought it was some soft, cute, easily fooled sweet girl from the South. Who knew it was you, the school's famous Ice Queen, and a hidden Yandere? The massive information gap and the intense whiplash sent my brain into a complete shutdown. It was a total blank. All I could do was stare at her uselessly, like a terrified idiot. She took a step forward. In the empty, silent hall, the click of her high heels was exceptionally clear and exceptionally chilling. Click. Why are you hiding? She frowned slightly, that lazy smile fading a little, a hint of displeasure in her eyes. Weren't you quite the fan of sticking close in the game? Sticking close. In the game, I was controlling my hero, running circles behind the support she was playing. That's called sticking close. That's called tactical protection. The self-discipline of a jungle king. I was just. I tried to explain, my voice dry and tight. Just what? She raised an eyebrow, watching me leisurely, waiting for me to continue. That look, filled with an all-knowing amusement, seemed to say, go on, keep spinning your story. I couldn't spin anymore. A colossal sense of shame and the powerlessness of being completely dominated by her presence made me feel like a deflated balloon. Sorry, I ducked my head abruptly, not daring to look at her again, apologizing incoherently. Classmate Shun, I didn't know it was you. Really, if I had known, you could have given me 100 guts and I still wouldn't have dared. Wouldn't have dared what? She interrupted, her voice turning a few degrees colder. Wouldn't have dared to call me your wife? Or wouldn't have dared to have an online romance with me? Cold sweat broke out on my forehead again. Wouldn't dare either. I practically yelled, with the kind of desperation that comes from having nothing left to lose. A soft, unreadable laugh came from above. I couldn't tell if she was pleased or angry, but it made my scalp tingle. Too late, she uttered, the two words floating out lightly. I shot my head up, crashing in her deep, bottomless black eyes. She looked at me, her gaze calm and rippleless, yet it held an unquestionable sense of control. You called me that in the game, she said slowly, as if stating the simplest of facts. So you have to take responsibility? Responsibility? Responsibility for what? My head was buzzing, a chaotic mess. No, classmate Shun, this is too sudden. I tried to struggle, a plea in my voice I hadn't even noticed myself. How long have we known each other? And this is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, she repeated, that chilling curve returning to her lips. Are you referring to giving me the blue buff in the game as a misunderstanding? Or, she paused, her gaze suddenly sharpening, like a blade tempered in ice. Calling me baby on WeChat and saying you wanted to hear my voice, was that also a misunderstanding? It's over. It's completely over. I've been stripped bare. My face was ashen. I felt like my life had come to an end. Seeing me completely deflated, she finally seemed satisfied. Do you have class this afternoon? She suddenly changed the subject, her tone returning to that flat, lazy drawl. Thrown by her leap in logic, I answered subconsciously, perfect. She nodded and held out her hand to me. Not for a handshake. Her palm was facing up, her fingers crooking slightly. Phone. WH what? I instinctively tried to hide my phone behind my back. Give it here, she said. Her tone was flat, but it carried an undeniable, commanding air. I looked at her calm, rippleless eyes, and my heart hammered with fear. But my body moved faster than my brain. Trembling, I handed her the phone. She took my phone, her movements as natural as if it were her own. Her fingers swiped across the screen a few times. Then, I heard my phone vibrate with a buzz. It was my phone. She took out her own phone, looked down, and typed something. Then, she handed my phone back to me. I looked down. On my WeChat contacts, there was a new friend. The profile picture was a clean, pure ice blue. The nickname was a single word, Shun. And in my friend request list, that little toffee with the pink bunny avatar had vanished without a trace. From now on, she tucked her phone back in her pocket, looked up at me, her tone as casual as if discussing the weather. Use this account to find me. I held my phone, staring at the ice blue character for Shun, feeling like I was holding a red-hot branding iron. Got it? She asked, raising an eyebrow slightly. See crystal clear. My voice was weak. She grunted, seeming somewhat satisfied with my answer. Then, she turned and walked towards the lobby entrance. The sound of her high heels echoed once more. Click, clack, click. Every step felt like it was trampling on my fragile little heart. Reaching the doorway, she suddenly stopped. She didn't turn back. Her clear, cool voice, tinged with a hint of an imperceptible, cold amusement, carried over distinctly. All right, in the game from now on, if you dare bring another girl. She turned her head slightly, the sunlight outlining her delicate, perfect jawline. I'll break your legs. I'll break your legs. Those 3 words, spoken so lightly, were like 3 ice picks stabbing viciously into the top of my skull. I stood frozen, watching that tall figure push open the glass door and disappear into the blinding sunlight outside. Only when the sound of her high heels had completely faded did I feel as if all my strength had been drained, and I slid down the cold wall to sit on the floor. The chill of the marble floor seeped through my thin pants, but I couldn't feel the cold. Her last words echoed repeatedly in my mind. I'll break your legs. Shit, is this supposed to be the campus bell? This is a fucking Demon King. Trembling, I took out my phone and tapped on that ice blue Shun avatar. Her moment's feed was completely empty, just a single line. Her status was also blank. Only the location was displayed, City A. A chill crawled on my spine. That just now. That was a warning, wasn't it? Definitely a warning. I clutched my head, feeling my life turn bleak. It's over. It's completely over. Not only is my online girlfriend the school's famous Ice Queen belle, but this belle also seems to have a hidden Yandere personality. For the next few days, I lived in a daze. I couldn't focus in class, food was tasteless, and I had no energy for games. My roommate, Wang Dachui, seeing my sorry state as if my life force had been sucked out by a succubus, sidled up to me, wiggling his eyebrows. What's wrong, bro? Heartbroken? Did your little toffee dump you? The corner of my mouth twitched. I was suffering in silence. Dump me? I wish she would dump me right now. The problem is, do I dare to bring up breaking up? That I'll break your legs is still playing in surround sound in my ears. I tapped on that ice blue avatar. The chat window was completely empty. She hadn't sent a single message since we added each other that day. It was like I'd added a dead account. But the more it was like this, the more unnerved I felt. Was this the calm before the storm? Or had she forgotten about it? Clinging to a final shred of hope, I tentatively opened the game. Look in. I had just entered the lobby before I could even get a clear look at the interface. a team invitation popped up. Inviter L. The avatar was a field of ice blue. My hand trembled, and I almost threw my phone. Shit, I forgot about this. We're still friends in the game. I stared at the invitation, my finger hovering over the screen as if I were being roasted over a fire. Except, the mere thought of playing a duo queue with Shun Qingli made my scalp tingle. Decline. The words, "I'll break your leg," spammed wildly in my mind. Just as I was waging a fierce internal battle, my finger trembling so hard it was about to cramp. The invitation vanished. Me? Question mark. Before I could even breathe a sigh of relief, a private message popped up. Elle? A single question mark. Cold, concise. Yet it carried the weight of a mountain. My scalp instantly exploded. My fingers moved faster than my brain, frantically typing out an explanation. It just lagged. Didn't see the invite. After sending it, I stared nervously at the screen. There was silence for a few seconds. Then, Elle starred. Terse and unquestionable. I sighed in resignation and, with a trembling hand, sent her a team invitation myself. She joined almost instantly. In the team lobby, it was just the two of us. Her game ID, L, hung there quietly. The avatar, ice blue, like a dormant volcano that could erupt at any moment. I took a deep breath and started the matchmaking. We entered the hero selection screen. I habitually pre-selected the jungler role. She instantly locked into support, Yao, the little deer girl who rides on other people's heads. My eyelid twitched violently. The game began. I controlled my jungle king, hero, and buried my head in farming jungle monsters. Tried to use the busyness to alleviate the awkwardness and fear. After the first jungle clear, I typed out of habit, "Support, follow me." That's what I always said when I played with Little Soft Candy. Only after sending it did I realize my mistake. The one I was talking to was Shun Qingli. I quickly added, "Shun, classmate Shun, do as you please. You don't have to follow me." Really? She didn't reply. On the map, the Yao hero on her little deer followed quietly behind me, shadowing my every move. Like a little tail, wherever I went, she followed. When I was taking the blue buff, I habitually wore it down to critical health, then stopped attacking. I always gave the blue buff to Little Soft Candy. But this time, I looked at the Yao hero, hanging quietly on my head from behind. This was fucking Shun Qingli. Did I dare give it to her? I hesitated for a moment, but still steeled myself and killed the blue buff. The gold and experience were mine. The Yao hero on my head remained quiet. I breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed she didn't care about it. However, the next second, a very faint, chilly chuckle came through my headset. She had turned on her mic. My whole body stiffened. Then, her clear, cold voice came through the static, laced with a hint of lazy mockery. Not even giving me the blue. You used to be so generous, weren't you? Her clear, cold voice, laced with a hint of lazy mockery, poured over my head like ice water through the headset. My fingers, controlling my hero, froze. The jungle creep's attack landed squarely on me, and my health bar dropped a notch. I fumbled with my skills, my mind a complete mess. Give her the blue? Now, get to Shun Qingli. The mental image was too much to handle. I subconsciously tried to explain, but the words got stuck in my throat. The end of her word tilted up, carrying a hint of danger. My scalp tingled. I quickly turned my hero around and ran towards our own blue buff area. Here, coming right up. I practically yelled. Classmate Shun, you just wait. This blue is about to respawn. Like an attentive henchman, I squatted by the blue buff pit, waiting eagerly for the creep to respawn. The Yao hero on my head remained quiet, unmoving. The atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. Finally, the blue buff respawned. With all my might, I beat the blue buff down to a sliver of health as fast as I could. Then I stopped. Classmate Shun, the blue. I said cautiously. The Yao hero jumped off my head. She sauntered over to the low-health blue buff, lifted her little hand. A basic attack. Once, the blue buff fell. The blue aura enveloped the Yao hero's feet. She didn't speak, nor did she jump back onto my head. She just stood there, in the middle of the blue aura. The little deer girl hero was clearly so cute. But through the screen, I could almost see Shun Qingli's expressionless face. A chill ran up my spine. Classmate Shun, I asked tentatively, should we go gank the bottom lane? She didn't move, didn't make a sound. A cold sweat broke out on my brow. What was this now? Was she angry because I didn't give her the blue buff the first time? I was racking my brains, trying to figure out how to fix the situation. Her clear, cold voice came through the headset again. Who are you calling? I froze. Huh, just now. Her tone was flat, but it carried an invisible pressure. What did you call me? Shun. Classmate Shun? Was there a problem? I blinked in confusion. Then it hit me. Shit. When I used to play with little soft candy, I would always. Wife. The blue is for you. Babe, come get the blue. Those cheesy pet names instantly flooded my mind. My face burned hot enough to fry an egg. How could I possibly say that? The person on the other end was Shun Qingli, the living king of hell. I stammered, my tongue feeling like it was tied in knots. A very soft, cold snort came through the headset. It seems you've forgotten. As soon as she finished speaking, the Yao hero standing in the blue aura on the map suddenly turned. Facing away from me, she started to walk away with her little legs, slowly. She was leaving. She was leaving. Don't go. I panicked. Throwing my shame to the wind, I blurted out, Wife, I gave you the blue. Come gank with me. After shouting that, my face was burning hot. There was complete silence in the headset. On the map, the Yao hero who had been walking away stopped. A few seconds later, she slowly turned around. With her little legs, she walked back, step by step. Then, with a light leap, she attached herself to my head once more. A clear, cold voice rang out again, tinged with an almost imperceptible, lazy smile of triumph. That's more like it. That's more like it. The two light words, like a feather brushing against my eardrum, carried an undeniable sense of control. I stiffly maneuvered my hero, with the Yao on my head, charging towards the enemy's bottom lane like a puppet on a string. My mind was a complete mess. Did I just call her wife? And Shun Qingli answered, this world is too surreal. For the rest of the game, I played distractedly. She, on the other hand, was very quiet. Besides necessary callouts, she barely spoke. But every time I subconsciously wanted to yell support, the word would be forced back down my throat by her silent aura, replaced by a series of tongue-scalding wifes. Wife, watch out for the bush. Wife, I'm going in. Wife, hurry and get on me. By the end, I was completely numb. Shame, non-existent. All that remained was the numbness of having my throat gripped by fate. I finally made it to the end of the game. I let out a long sigh of relief, feeling as if I had just fought a war of the century. I was just about to quickly log off and escape, but I hadn't left the party room yet. Her voice sounded again. You don't have class tomorrow afternoon, right? It wasn't a question, but a statement. My heart tightened. I asked warily, what for? Bring me food. She was concise. Bring food. I was dumbfounded. Bring what food? Lunch. Her tone was matter-of-fact. Deliver it to the School of Business, Building A, Room 307. Me? Wait, Student Shun. I try to struggle. Tomorrow Is there a problem? She cut me off, her voice turning a degree colder. And no, I answered reflexively. She seemed satisfied. 12 o'clock. Don't be late. With that, her avatar went dark. She had logged off directly, leaving me alone, staring at the empty party room, utterly bewildered in the wind. Bring food for Shun Qingli, and deliver it to her classroom. What damn difference is there between that and a public execution? The next morning, I didn't hear a single word of the lecture. My mind was completely occupied with the food delivery mission at noon. At 11:30, I slipped out of the classroom like a thief and headed straight for the cafeteria. I bought 2 of the most expensive and exquisite-looking set meals. Then, carrying the 2 heavy lunch boxes, I walked towards the imposing glass-walled building of the School of Business like a warrior heading to his execution. The School of Business, the legendary gathering place of the elite. The very air smelled of money and success. Dressed in a faded t-shirt and jeans, carrying 2 out-of-place cafeteria lunchboxes, I walked on the polished marble floor, feeling like an ugly duckling that had wandered into a flock of swans. No, like the monk Tang Sanzang who had stumbled into the spider's cave. Along the way, I garnered countless gazes, some curious, some contemptuous. Steeling myself, I found Building A, Room 307. The door was ajar. Faint sounds of discussion came from inside. It seemed to be a small seminar. I took a deep breath, mentally preparing myself, before raising my hand and knocking softly on the door. "Please come in." A gentle male voice answered. I pushed the door open. The classroom wasn't large. It was one of those small seminar rooms. There were 7 or 8 people inside, both men and women, all dressed smartly and exuding an extraordinary air. At this moment, everyone's gaze was focused squarely on me, and the 2 cheap cafeteria lunchboxes in my hands. The air fell silent instantly. I was so embarrassed my toes were digging into my shoes. A young man sitting in the main seat, who looked like the organizer, was wearing gold-rimmed glasses and had a refined demeanor. He looked at me, frowning slightly. "Excuse me, who are you looking for?" My eyes quickly scanned the room, and then, by the window, I saw her. Shun Qingli. She was wearing a cream-colored knit sweater today, her long hair casually tied up, revealing a fair, slender neck. The sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting mottled light and shadows on her. She was looking down at a tablet in her hands, her side profile so perfect it didn't seem real. She appeared completely undisturbed by the commotion at the door. I'm looking for student Shun Qingli." I forced myself to speak, my voice a little shaky. The man with the gold-rimmed glasses was taken aback for a moment, then showed a polite but distant smile. "Qingli is in the middle of a very important discussion right now. If you need something, you can come back later." He didn't finish his sentence. By the window, Shun Qingli looked up. Her calm gaze swept over, landing on me and on the 2 conspicuous lunchboxes in my hands. Then, under everyone's astonished stare, she put down her tablet, stood up, and, in her high heels, she walked unhurriedly towards me at the door. Click, clack, click. Each step seemed to land on my very heartbeat. She walked up to me and stopped. Very close. That cool, crisp scent enveloped me again. She lowered her gaze slightly, glancing at the lunchbox in my hand. "For me?" she asked, her voice flat. "Yeah." My throat was dry. I nudged the lunchbox forward. She didn't take it. Instead, she raised her hand, not to take the lunchbox, but straight for my face. I froze completely. Under the shocked gazes of the entire classroom, her fingertips gently brushed the corner of my mouth. The movement was so natural, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. "You got something on you." She pulled her hand back, rubbing her fingertips together, her tone nonchalant. "Me? The damn pancake I ate this morning. A crumb was still there now. Social suicide. Absolute social suicide." My face burned, and I wished I could just die on the spot. She didn't seem to think anything of it, and finally reached out to take the lunchbox. "Thanks." Carrying the lunchbox, she turned and walked back. After a couple of steps, she stopped again and looked back at me. "No class this afternoon." My mind was still reeling. I nodded subconsciously. "No." She acknowledged, her gaze sweeping over my faded, washed-out t-shirt. 3 o'clock, school gate. I couldn't process it. "I'm taking you to buy clothes." She dropped that line, and carrying the lunchbox, walked back to her seat, leaving me standing at the door like an idiot, enduring the entire classroom's curious, shocked, and even slightly hostile stares, especially the guy with the gold-rimmed glasses. The look he gave me was as complex as an overturned paint palette. Buy clothes? Shun Qingli is taking me to buy clothes? I walked out of the business school building in a daze, feeling like I was floating. That sentence echoed repeatedly in my mind, and her gesture just now, brushing the corner of my mouth in front of everyone. The cool touch of her fingertips seemed to linger. I raised a hand and rubbed my face hard. Fuck, what the hell was that all about? Online romance meeting in real life. But this was too terrifying of a way for it to happen. 3 in the afternoon. Like a prisoner awaiting sentencing, I dawdled my way to the school gate. From a distance, I saw a sleek black sedan parked on the side of the road. It was low-key, but anyone in the know could tell at a glance that it was expensive. The passenger side window rolled down. Shun Qingli was in the driver's seat, her profile turned towards me. She had changed into a simple black shirt today, the cuffs casually rolled up, revealing a section of her pale wrist. Sunglasses covered most of her face, leaving only her elegantly shaped jaw and crimson lips visible. Get in. She didn't look at me. Her voice came through the window, carrying an unquestionable command. I took a deep breath, pulled open the door, and got into the passenger seat. The car's interior was spacious, filled with the same cool, crisp fragrance she wore. I sat rigidly, not knowing where to put my hands or feet. She started the car, and the engine let out a low, pleasant roar. The car merged smoothly into traffic. Seatbelt, she reminded, her tone flat. I quickly fumbled to pull the seatbelt and buckle it. The car was silent, save for the faint sound of the air from the AC vent. I was so nervous my palms were sweating. I stared at the rapidly receding streetscape outside the window, not daring to look at her. Nervous? She suddenly asked. No, not at all. I denied it flatly, but my voice trembled slightly. She seemed to chuckle softly and said no more. The car finally stopped in the underground garage of an absurdly expensive-looking mall downtown. She turned off the engine and took off her sunglasses. Those bottomless black eyes looked at me. Get out. Like a lackey, I followed closely behind her. Walking into the mall, there were bright lights, exquisite decor, and the scent of high-end perfume in the air. The people coming and going were well-dressed and had an air of distinction. I looked down at the faded, washed-out canvas shoes on my feet and felt completely out of place. Shun Qingli, however, didn't seem to care at all. Her destination was clear. She headed straight for a men's clothing store. The storefront was one of understated luxury. The mannequins in the window wore impeccably tailored suits. It was obviously a place I couldn't afford. A sales associate saw Shun Qingli and immediately came over enthusiastically. Miss Shun, good afternoon. How may I help you? Shun Qingli gave a slight nod, her gaze sweeping across the store before pointing at me. Give him a few outfits. The associate's eyes landed on me. She wore a professional smile, but I still caught the flash of surprise in her eyes. Of course, Miss Shun. The associate turned to me with a proper smile. Sir, what style do you usually prefer? Casual or... He doesn't need to know. Shun Qingli cut her off coolly. Get what I tell you to. The sales associate paused for a moment, then nodded. Of course, please go ahead. After that, I was like a mannequin without feelings. Shun Qingli sat on the sofa in the lounge area, pointing casually with her fingertips. That shirt, those pants, the jacket, the black one, and that one. The sales associate swiftly retrieved the clothes she pointed to and brought them to me. Sir, the fitting room is this way. Clutching the pile of clothes that felt wonderful to the touch and looked expensive at a glance, I dazedly entered the fitting room. First outfit, a simple white shirt with casual trousers. I changed and came out, standing in front of the mirror. The person in the mirror had a decent figure, but his demeanor was a bit timid. Shun Qingli glanced up. It's okay. Next. Second outfit, a light gray knit sweater with khaki pants. Passable. Next. Third outfit. Fourth outfit. I was like a spinning top, directed by her to change one outfit after another. Every time I came out, she would just give a cursory glance and offer evaluations like it's okay, passable, or average. The smile on the sales associate's face was about to stiffen. Finally, as I put on a dark blue casual blazer, her hand, holding a coffee cup, paused. Her gaze lingered on me for a few seconds. This one, and the gray knit sweater from before, the white shirt, the black trousers, the khaki pants. She listed a series of items, wrapped them all up, as if granted amnesty. The sales associate hurried off to package everything. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at the well-tailored blazer on me. Clothes make the man, as a saddle makes the horse. The me in the mirror, indeed, looked much sharper, but the thought of the string of zeros on the price tags made my scalp tingle. Shun, classmate Shun, I mustered up my courage and walked over to her. This is too expensive. I can't. She put down her coffee cup and looked up at me. I'm buying it. Her tone was flat. You're wearing it. No, this. I still wanted to struggle. Wear it, she repeated herself. Her tone hadn't changed, but her eyes turned cold. I shut up instantly. The sales associate came over carrying several exquisite shopping bags. Shun Qingli stood up and casually handed over a card. No pin. Of course, Miss Shun. Please wait a moment. The associate went to process the payment. Watching her swipe the card without batting an eye, I had mixed feelings. What was this? Was I being kept? Me, a perfectly able-bodied man. Let's go. She took her card back, handed one bag to me, and picked up the rest herself. Like a marionette, I followed behind her, holding the bag. We walked out of the mall and got back in the car. She started the car, but didn't drive off immediately. The car fell silent again. I sat uneasily, clutching the pile of expensive shopping bags. Classmate Shun, I began tentatively. Today. Thank you. The money for the clothes. I'll pay you back in the future. No need. She cut me off, her gaze fixed ahead, the line of her profile looking somewhat cold and hard in the twilight. Then, can I treat you to a meal? I asked cautiously. She didn't speak. Silence spread through the car. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, she suddenly turned her head. Her eyes looked straight at me. Those bottomless black eyes seemed exceptionally deep in the dim light. You really want to thank me? She asked, her voice very soft, carrying a hint of imperceptible allure. You really want to thank me? Her voice was soft, like a feather brushing against the heart, carrying a hint of imperceptible allure. In the dim car, she looked at me sideways. The neon lights of the city flowed in from outside, casting shifting shadows on her delicate profile. Those bottomless black eyes were like cold pools soaked in the night, so deep they made one's heart palpitate. My fingers clutching the shopping bags tightened unconsciously, my throat dry. Yes, I nodded stiffly. A very faint smile seemed to touch the corners of her lips. This weekend, come with me somewhere. It wasn't a discussion, it was a notification. Go. Go where? I asked warily. You'll know when the time comes. She withdrew her gaze, looked forward again, and started the car. Her tone returned to that flat, languid quality. Now, I'm taking you back to school. The next few days were calm. Shun Qingli didn't ask me to play games with her, nor did she ask me to deliver meals. That ice blue WeChat profile picture lay quietly in my contact list, like a ticking time bomb. I wore the clothes she bought to class, and was teased by Wang Dachui and the others for a long time. Well, old Shun, look at you, trading up. This brand isn't cheap, is it? Did you win the lottery? Fess up. Are you being kept by some rich woman? I mumbled some vague excuse and got past it, but my heart was pounding. The weekend. Where on earth was she taking me? The fear of the unknown is more agonizing than any known torture. On Saturday morning, I was still lying in my dorm bed like a corpse. My phone vibrated. The ice blue profile picture pulsed. Shun downstairs. Concise and to the point. I shot up from the bed. I rushed to the balcony to look down. That familiar black sedan was, just as I expected, parked below the dorm. I scrambled to wash up, threw on the gray knit shirt she had bought me, and bolted downstairs. I pulled open the car door and got in. She was wearing a cream-colored trench coat today, her long hair loose, her face expressionless. Morning. I greeted her dryly. She grunted in acknowledgement and started the car. The car drove out of the city and onto the highway. The view outside the window changed from skyscrapers to rolling hills. I couldn't help but ask, where are we going? A hot spring resort, she replied faintly, her eyes on the road. A hot spring. Certain indescribable images flashed through my mind, and my face instantly turned red. To a hot spring. My voice cracked. She glanced at me, seemingly amused by my reaction. A friend of mine owns it. The environment is nice. A friend owns it. I swallowed silently. A big shot's friend is, as expected, also a big shot. The car drove into a quiet, secluded valley. A Japanese-style hot spring resort appeared before us. White walls, black tiles, nestled within a bamboo forest. An attendant in a kimono respectfully opened the car door. Miss Shun, you've arrived. Shun Qingli nodded slightly and led me inside. The interior of the resort was a world of its own, with small bridges overflowing water, quiet and elegant. The attendant led us to a private courtyard. Miss Shun, this is your exclusive bathhouse, Bamboo Rhythm. It has been prepared for you. Thank you. Shun Qingli nodded. The attendant withdrew. The courtyard was quiet, with only the sound of water trickling from the rockery. Go get changed, she said, pointing to the changing room next to us. There are bathrobes inside. I walked into the changing room in a daze. Inside, as expected, were 2 clean bathrobes. I dawdled, but finally came out in my bathrobe. Shun Qingli had already changed. She was wearing a moon-white bathrobe, the belt tied loosely, revealing her delicate collarbones and a small patch of fair skin. Her long hair was casually pinned up, with a few stray strands falling by her cheeks. Gone was her usual coldness, replaced by a lazy, gentle beauty. I stared, a little mesmerized. She lifted her eyes and glanced at me. "What are you spacing out for?" "Huh? Oh." I snapped back to reality and quickly averted my gaze. She walked to the edge of the hot spring pool and tested the water temperature. Then, with a natural movement, she untied the belt of her bathrobe. The bathrobe slipped off. My mind went boom. My eyes instantly bulged like saucers. The moon-white bathrobe slid down her smooth shoulders, pooling at her feet. Underneath was not what I had imagined. Ahem. It was a simple black swimsuit. It had spaghetti straps, revealing a large expanse of her fair back and slender waist. The bottom was a pair of boy shorts, hugging her perky curves. Her two long, straight legs were dazzlingly white in the rising steam. I whipped around. The movement was so abrupt, I almost twisted my neck. My heart was hammering wildly in my chest, making my eardrums throb. My face was hot enough to fry an egg. Damn, what was I thinking? How could Shun Qingli possibly? A soft splash came from behind me. It was the sound of her stepping into the pool. The warm steam, mixed with her signature cool, crisp scent, began to spread. The water's perfect. Her clear voice drifted over, tinged with a steam-induced laziness. "Get in." With my back to her, I froze on the spot. Get in, with her, bathed together, even though we'd be in swimsuits. But that image was just too intense. "Do I have to invite you?" Her voice dropped a degree colder. A shiver ran through me. "Forget it. If I die, I die." I turned around with the resolve of a martyr, my eyes glued to the ground, not daring to look around. Stiffly, I walked to the edge of the pool. I took off my bathrobe. Underneath were my own swim trunks, the most conservative pair of boxers I owned. Like a dumpling dropping into a pot, I jumped into the water with a plop, sending up a huge splash. The warm spring water instantly enveloped my entire body. I huddled in the corner farthest from her, wishing I could bury myself in the water. Only my head was showing. My eyes were fixed on the flower petals floating on the water's surface, not daring to look away. The air was so quiet, only the sound of flowing water could be heard. Awkward. Suffocatingly awkward. I huddled like a quail, not daring to breathe. "Are you afraid of me?" she suddenly asked. Her voice, muffled by the rising steam, drifted over. "No. Of course not." I blurted out a denial. "Really?" A soft chuckle seemed to escape her lips. "Then why are you hiding so far away?" Could I possibly tell her it was because her aura was too powerful and the sight of her in a swimsuit was just too impactful? "Come here," she commanded. My scalp tingled. I reluctantly shuffled a tiny step in her direction. "Closer." I took another tiny step. "Sit here." She patted the spot beside her. I stared at the spot, so tantalizingly close, and at the indistinct lines of her neck and shoulders submerged in the water. I felt like I was about to suffocate, but I didn't dare disobey. Steeling myself, I inched my way over and sat down next to her. The warm spring water carried her body heat and her scent. My body was as stiff as a rock. "Relax." She turned her head to look at me, a bead of water tracing a path down her delicate jawline. "It's not like I'm going to eat you. Like hell I believe you. You're more terrifying than a man-eating demon." I screamed internally, but on my face, I forced a smile that was uglier than tears. My expression seemed to amuse her, and the corners of her lips curved into a beautiful arc. Then she reached out, not to touch me, but to pick up a cup of sake from a floating tray. She held it out to me. "Have some." I hesitated, looking at the pale golden liquid. I took it. The coolness of the cup dispersed some of the heat from my face. I tilted my head back and took a large gulp. The sake was slightly sweet with a faint aroma of rice as it slid down my throat. A wave of warmth spread through me. My taut nerves seemed to relax a little. She picked up a cup for herself, sipping it delicately. Her profile, softened by the swirling steam, looked unreal. The atmosphere seemed to have eased somewhat. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Do you?" I mustered up my courage, trying to start a conversation. "Do you come here often?" "Occasionally." She swirled the sake in her cup, her gaze fixed on the flower petals floating on the water surface. When I'm troubled, she gets troubled too? I was a little surprised. In my mind, she was always the one in control, effortlessly handling everything. Why? Are you troubled? I asked cautiously. She didn't answer right away. There was a moment of silence. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, she spoke, her voice soft, laced with a barely perceptible weariness. Family matters. And some boring people. Boring people. Does she mean her suitors? I thought of the way that man with the gold-rimmed glasses from the business school looked at her. So, does soaking the hot spring help? I asked. She hummed in agreement, turning her head to look at me. Her dark eyes seemed exceptionally deep in the mist. It's quiet, and she paused, a meaningful curve playing on her lips. Now I have you with me. It seems. Not bad at all. Now, I have you with me. It seems. Not bad at all. The light, airy words, tinged with the steam, slipped into my ears. My fingers tightened around the sake cup. My heart felt as if it had been gently but firmly struck by something. A tingling numbness, mixed with an inexplicable sense of panic. Was she flirting with me? In such a calm, placid tone. I stiffly turned my head to look at her. The dense steam blurred her features, but those bottomless dark eyes were exceptionally clear. Reflected in them were the shimmering ripples of the water, and my own stunned reflection. The faint, ghost of a smile on her lips was like a hook. My throat went dry. I quickly lowered my head and chugged another mouthful of sake. The liquor burned its way down my throat, a desperate attempt to suppress the strange turmoil in my heart. Blushing, her amused voice floated over. No, not at all. I denied it, my voice a little shaky. It's just a hot spring. It's too hot. Oh, her voice rose slightly at the end, a teasing lilt to it. Is that so? Of course, I said, craning my neck. She let out a soft laugh and stopped teasing me, raising her cup to take another delicate sip. The atmosphere once again fell into a subtle silence. There was only the sound of trickling water. I shrank back in the water, feeling utterly ill at ease. The heat of the spring, mixed with the crisp scent from her body and the impact of her earlier words. My head was spinning. Next week, she suddenly said. My heart leaped. What now? Is there a project presentation in your department? She asked. I was taken aback for a moment. There was. Next Wednesday was the midterm presentation for a rather important innovation project in our computer science department. My advisor was keeping a tight rein on it. How did you know? I asked subconsciously. She glanced at me, her eyes seeming to say, what do you think? I instantly shut my mouth. Damn, I had forgotten she was Shun Qingli, big shot from the business school. If she wanted to know about a project presentation for us engineering dogs, wouldn't it be a piece of cake? Yeah, I mumbled in a sullen tone. Prepare well, she said, her tone flat and devoid of emotion. Don't embarrass yourself. Embarrass myself? I felt a little indignant. Although my grades were average, this project was something I had pulled several all-nighters to create. I won't, I retorted instinctively. I'm very well prepared. Oh, she raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised by my rebuttal. Of course. I puffed out my chest with a touch of a tech guy's stubbornness. I did a great job optimizing the algorithm. Even my advisor praised it. She looked at me without speaking. A flicker of emotion I couldn't decipher crossed her dark eyes. Then she nodded. That's good, then. After the hot spring, we had a delicate Japanese meal at the mountain villa. She drove me back to school. Along the way, we didn't say much, but the atmosphere seemed less tense. We arrived downstairs from my dormitory. I unbuckled my seatbelt, ready to get out. The clothes, she said suddenly. Huh. I turned to look at her. She pointed at what I was wearing. Wear them. I looked down at the gray knit shirt she had bought me. Oh, okay, I nodded. Also, she paused, her gaze falling on my face, the day of the project presentation. She didn't finish, but I inexplicably grew nervous. I'll be there to watch. She dropped this line and rolled up the car window. The car slipped silently into the night. I stood there, watching the direction where the taillights disappeared. Her last words echoed in my mind. I'll be there to watch. She was going to watch my project presentation. Why? To supervise me so I don't embarrass myself? Or, I shook my head, trying to drive out the jumbled thoughts. Who cares? Whatever comes, I'll deal with it. On the day of the project presentation, the tiered lecture hall was packed. The department heads, advisors, and many students who came to listen. I sat in the audience, watching the first few students go up to present, my palms sweating a little. It would be a lie to say I wasn't nervous, especially at the thought that Shun Qingli might come. I subconsciously scanned the crowd. I didn't see her. A sense of relief washed over me, mixed with an unexplainable tinge of disappointment. Next, Chen Mo. My advisor called my name. I took a deep breath and walked up to the podium, connected my laptop, opened the PowerPoint. Good afternoon, teachers and fellow students. My project is optimization of abnormal behavior recognition and campus security surveillance based on deep learning. I stumbled a bit at the beginning, but as I got into it, I gradually relaxed. Especially when I got to the algorithm optimization part that I designed myself. My thoughts were clear and my logic flowed smoothly. Several advisors in the audience showed expressions of approval. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. By introducing time series analysis and dynamic threshold adjustment, our model has reduced the false alarm rate by 15%, while increasing recognition accuracy by 8%. Here is a comparison of the specific experimental data. I was pointing at a chart on the PowerPoint and explaining. The back door of the lecture hall was pushed open gently. A tall figure walked in silently. She was dressed in a simple white shirt and black trousers, her long hair tied back in a neat ponytail. Her face was expressionless as she walked straight to a seat in the last row by the side and sat down. Her movements were so natural, as if she was supposed to be there all along. It was Shun Qingli. She really came. My voice caught in my throat for a second. My heart instantly accelerated. But seeing her calm and unruffled eyes, I forced myself to calm down and continued my explanation. In summary, our optimization scheme performs well on the existing dataset, and the next step will be to conduct deployment tests in real-world scenarios. The presentation ended. I gave a slight bow. Applause rose from below the stage. My advisor was also smiling, clearly quite satisfied. I breathed a sigh of relief, ready to step down. Chen Mo, my advisor, stopped me, a smile of encouragement on his face. Well done, but I have one question. Please go ahead, Professor. I quickly stood straight. The dynamic threshold adjustment you mentioned. The advisor pushed up his glasses. In a real-world deployment, how would you solve the problem of threshold drift under different lighting conditions? For example, in nighttime or strong light environments? The question was a bit tricky. It involved details of actual deployment, which I hadn't considered so thoroughly. My mind raced as I organized my words. Well, we could consider introducing an ambient light sensor or performing illumination compensation through a pre-processing module. As I spoke, I stole a glance at the last row. Shun Qingli sat there, her back straight, arms crossed, watching me quietly. Her expression was calm, betraying no emotion. But for some reason, I started to panic a little. My answer became somewhat hesitant and stumbled. In short, it requires a comprehensive optimization combining both hardware and algorithms. I managed to conclude. My advisor nodded and didn't press further. The idea is good, but the details need to be fleshed out. Go think it over some more. Yes, Professor. Feeling as if I'd been granted amnesty, I quickly scurried off the stage. Back in my seat, a layer of cold sweat had formed on my back. I stealthily took out my phone and opened WeChat. That ice blue profile picture was quiet. She hadn't sent me a message. The presentation ended, and the crowd began to disperse. I packed my things slowly, my eyes darting toward the back row. Shun Qingli was still sitting there, motionless. She seemed to be waiting for someone. Waiting for me? I hesitated for a moment, then braced myself and walked over. Shun, classmate Shun. I greeted her dryly. She lifted her eyes to look at me, her gaze indifferent. It was okay. I was taken aback for a second. Was that a compliment? However, her tone shifted as she stood up, looking down at me. Your answer to that last question was terrible. Me? I knew it. I knew I couldn't escape this. I'll go back and do more research, I said, lacking confidence. No need. She picked up her bag, her tone flat. I've sent the solution to your email. Me? Send it to my email. When? I stared at her, completely baffled. She didn't explain, just turned and walked out. After a couple of steps, she stopped again. She looked back at me. What are you standing there for? Let's go. To eat. Again, that unquestionable, commanding tone. Like a pet summoned by its master, I subconsciously followed. Walking out of the academic building, the afternoon sun was a bit harsh. Shun Qingli walked half a step ahead of me, her ponytail swaying gently with her steps, her posture erect. I followed half a step behind, my mind still processing what she had just said. She sent the solution to my email. She's from the business school. How would she know about algorithm optimization in our computer science department? And she came up with a solution so quickly. Is that even possible? We walked to the cafeteria in silence. At this hour, it wasn't too crowded anymore. She found a quiet spot by the window and sat down. What do you want to eat? She asked, looking up at me. What? Whatever is fine. I was a little nervous. She didn't ask again and got up, heading towards the food counter. Watching her tall figure line up at the counter felt a bit surreal. The Ice Queen campus belle, Shun Qingli, is getting food for me? Soon, she returned with 2 trays. She placed one in front of me. I looked down. Sweet and sour pork ribs, stir-fried shrimp, oyster sauce lettuce, and a bowl of winter melon and pork rib soup. These were all some of the more expensive dishes in the cafeteria, and they were all my favorites. I looked up at her, a little surprised. She sat down with her usual calm expression and picked up her chopsticks. Eat. I picked up my chopsticks, but looking at the tempting food on my tray, I had no appetite. My mind was completely occupied with a project presentation. Classmate Shun, I couldn't help but start. You just said, the solution. She picked up a piece of pork rib, elegantly placed it in her mouth, and chewed slowly. Only after swallowing did she speak, unhurriedly. The email. Read it now. I quickly took out my phone and logged in my email. Sure enough, there was an unread email. The sender was an unfamiliar email address. The subject line read, Solution to the Threshold Drift Problem. I opened it. Inside was a concise and clear document. It listed 3 solutions to resolve the threshold drift caused by lighting effects. First, on the hardware level, add a low-cost ambient light sensor to provide real-time feedback on light intensity and dynamically adjust threshold parameters. Several sensor models and their approximate prices were attached. Second, on the algorithm level, add an illumination normalization module in the pre-processing stage, with detailed descriptions of the principles and applicable scenarios for 2 mainstream normalization algorithms. Third, a hybrid solution, a combination of the first 2, providing recommended approaches for different budgets and precision requirements. It was clearly structured, logically rigorous, and even took into account the cost and feasibility of actual deployment. This level of expertise was absolutely professional. Stunned, I lifted my head and looked at Shun Qingli, who was eating leisurely across from me. You wrote this. She glanced up at me. Who else? You. How do you know all this? I was in disbelief. How could a business school student know so much about computer vision and algorithm optimization? Is it hard? She retorted, her tone as flat as if discussing the weather. You just learn it by looking at it. Looking at it. I almost coughed up a lungful of blood. Something I had pulled several all-nighters to figure out. She could find flaws in just by looking at it, and even provide such a professional solution. Was she even human? Thank you, I said with heartfelt gratitude, a mix of complex emotions swirling within me. She grunted and continued eating. I watched her calm profile, my mind in turmoil. The world of a top student was truly beyond the comprehension of mere mortals like me. I put away my phone, picked up my chopsticks, and started to eat. The sweet and sour pork ribs were tangy and delicious, the shrimp fresh and springy. The food was surprisingly good. Next week, she suddenly spoke again. My chopsticks paused. Here we go again. Your advisor, she said casually, picking up a piece of vegetable. Is it going to make you reorganize the project documentation? Me? How do you know everything? Yes, I answered sullenly. Tomorrow, she put down her chopsticks and wiped the corner of her mouth with a napkin. The library. Save me a seat. And she added, bring your project documents. Me? Bring the project documents? To the library? What was she planning to do? Problem? She raised an eyebrow at me. And no, I answered reflexively. Good. She stood up. I have things to do this afternoon. I'm leaving. With that, she picked up her bag, turned, and left. Clean and decisive. Leaving me alone, staring at the half-eaten meal, a mess in the wind. The next afternoon, carrying my laptop and the printed project documentation, I arrived at the library early. I found a quiet corner by the window and, save 2 seats, my heart pounding with anxiety. What did she want me to bring the documents for? Surely she wasn't going to help me edit them. The thought had barely surfaced before I squashed it myself. What a joke. Shun Qingli, helping me edit my documents? She wasn't my advisor. As my thoughts ran wild, a familiar, cool fragrance approached. Shun Qingli had arrived. She was wearing a light blue blouse today, her long hair falling smoothly over her shoulders, making her look softer than usual. She sat down in the seat opposite me and put down her bag. The documents. She held out her hand. I quickly handed over the printed papers. She took them and lowered her head to read, her expression focused, her brow slightly furrowed. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, casting a small shadow from her long eyelashes. It was so quiet I could only hear the soft rustle of her turning the pages. I sat opposite her, not daring to breathe, like a primary school student waiting for the teacher to grade their homework. Time ticked by, second by second. She read very carefully, occasionally circling or marking things with a pen. I stole glances at her serious profile, an indescribable feeling bubbling up inside me. Was she really helping me? Why? Just because I called her wife a few times in the game? Wasn't this price a bit too high? Finally, she put the documents down and looked up at me. The basic logic is sound. I let out a sigh of relief. However, her tone shifted. Your phrasing is too wordy. You've piled on too many technical details, and the main points don't stand out. She picked up her pen and tapped on the document. Here, redundant description. Delete it. Here, just a pile of jargon. Rephrase it into something easier to understand. The conclusion is too weak. It needs to be strengthened with data. She spoke at a measured pace, but her points were clear and hit the mark. I nodded repeatedly as I listened. Also, she flipped to the last page. The reference format is a complete mess. Use APA style for all of them. Me. I quickly took out my notebook and jotted down all the points she made. Send me the electronic version. She closed the document and handed it back to me. Huh, I froze for a second. I'll edit it for you, she said flatly, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Me? Edit it for me? She's really going to edit it for me? I stared at her in shock. Problem? She raised an eyebrow. And no. I quickly shook my head. Thank you, classmate Shun. She didn't say anything more, simply took out her own laptop and turned it on. Get to work, she said without looking up. I quickly opened my own laptop and began revising the document according to her suggestions. The library was quiet, filled only with the faint sound of tapping keyboards. The sunlight was warm. A faint, scholarly scent lingered in the air. I secretly lifted my gaze to look across. She was focused on the screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard. In the light, her side profile was soft and tranquil. A corner of my heart seemed to be gently stirred. It seems this isn't so bad. The document was almost revised. I stretched and moved my stiff neck. I looked up and across the table. Shun Qingli was still facing her computer screen, her expression focused. The sunlight streaming through the window cast a soft, warm golden layer over her. Her long eyelashes were lowered, casting a small shadow beneath her eyes. The bridge of her nose was straight, her lips a natural crimson. When she was quiet like this, she lacked her usual cold and intimidating aura, possessing instead a kind of serene beauty. I stared a little dazed. As if sensing my gaze, her fingers paused on the keyboard. Then, she lifted her eyes to look at me. Finished editing? She asked. Huh? Oh, almost. I snapped back to my senses and answered quickly. She nodded, her gaze returning to the screen. Give me 5 minutes. Okay. I quickly averted my eyes, pretending to continue checking the document. But I couldn't help but peek at her from the corner of my eye. She seemed to be handling some work, her brow slightly furrowed, her fingers gliding over the trackpad. Her serious expression was actually quite attractive. 5 minutes passed quickly. She closed her laptop. Let's go. She stood up and started packing her things. I hurriedly closed my laptop too and stuffed the document into my bag. I followed her out of the library. The evening breeze carried a hint of coolness. We walked side by side along a tree-lined path on campus. The streetlights were already on, casting two long shadows on the ground. The atmosphere was a little subtly quiet. Classmate Shun, I mustered the courage to break the silence. Today. Thank you for helping me with the document. She responded, her voice devoid of emotion. You seem to know a lot about computers. I asked tentatively. It's all right, she said flatly. I'm minored in computer science. A minor? I looked at her in shock. The prodigy of the business school, minoring in computer science? And she's as damn good at it. Is that strange? She glanced at me from the side. No, not at all. I shook my head quickly. I just think you're incredible. She seemed to let out a soft chuckle, but didn't say anything. She continued walking forward. The halos of the streetlights flickered across her face. Classmate Shun, I couldn't help but ask again, what are you helping me? This question had been bottled up inside me for a long time. From when she forced me to take responsibility, to buy me clothes, going to the hot springs, and helping me solve my project's problems. All of this went far beyond my understanding of meeting an online partner in person. It went even further beyond my understanding of Shun Qingli as a person. Her steps paused for a moment. She turned her head to look at me. Under the dim yellow streetlight, her gaze was deep and hard to read. Why? She repeated, a playful tone in her voice. Because. She suddenly took a step closer to me. The distance closed in an instant. That crisp, cool scent enveloped me again. My breath hitched. I subconsciously wanted to step back, but she reached out, her fingertips lightly brushing against my cheek. The motion was very light, carrying a hint of coolness. You are mine. My person, of course, can't be too shabby. Her voice was soft, like a feather brushing against the heart, yet it carried immense weight and undeniable possessiveness. The slightly cool touch of her fingertips lingered on my cheek. I froze on the spot, as if petrified. It felt as if my blood stopped flowing for a moment, only to rush madly to my heart the next, pounding in my ears. The streetlight was dim. She was very close. So close that I could clearly see my own stunned face reflected in those bottomless dark eyes beneath her thick lashes, and a trace of an almost obsessive seriousness that I couldn't comprehend. Her person? Since when? Just because I called her wife a few times in a game? Isn't that too fucking domineering? I opened my mouth, wanting to retort, wanting to say that I hadn't agreed to anything, wanting to say that our relationship was completely ambiguous. But when the words reached my lips, I met her calm, yet intensely pressuring gaze and swallowed them back down. The words "break your legs" flashed repeatedly in my mind. I chickened out. Oh, I replied dryly, my voice weak. She seemed quite satisfied with my reaction. The corners of her lips curved into a very slight smile. She withdrew her hand. Let's go. She turned and continued walking. Her tone had returned to its usual flatness, as if that earth-shattering sentence just now was merely a casual remark. I followed behind her like a string puppet. My mind was a chaotic mess. Her person can't be too bad, so she helped me revise my documents and improve myself. This logic, it seems to make sense. But why does it feel so wrong? The following days seemed to enter a bizarre period of calm. Shun Qingli didn't launch any more surprise attacks. She would just occasionally send a WeChat message to ask about the project's progress. Is the document revised? The algorithm test results? Is the deployment plan finalized? Concise and to the point, like a boss supervising remotely. And I, like a miserable programmer being watched by the client, diligently reported my progress. It's revised, sent to your email, tested, the accuracy rate is stable above 92%. It's finalized, using a hybrid plan, the cost is controllable. She usually just replied with an or got it, sparing her words like gold. But every time I received a reply, I would feel an inexplicable sense of relief in my heart, as if I had been acknowledged. The project progressed smoothly, and my advisor's attitude towards me also improved considerably. He even privately praised me for having opened up my mind. Only I knew that there was an off-site guide behind the scenes, Wang Dahui, seeing that I was glowing with health recently and that my project was flourishing, started winking and nudging again. Old Shun, confess. Are you in a relationship? Which department's girl? So supportive of her man? The corner of my mouth twitched. Supportive of her man? If Shun Qingli heard this term, she'd probably twist my head off. Get lost. I'm succeeding on my own merit. Okay. I push him away. TCH. Wang Dahui looked unconvinced. You? Come on. Spit it out. Is it the one who bought you clothes last time? Me? This kid's eyes are pretty sharp. No such thing. I denied it flatly. Don't guess randomly. Hee hee. Wang Dahui laughed slyly. Feeling guilty, aren't you? Your face is all red. Me? Life went on in this bland way. Until Friday night. I was in the dorm having a heated gaming session with Wang Dahui and the others. My phone vibrated. The ice blue profile picture pulsed. Shun, are you free now? My heart skipped a beat. This tone doesn't sound good. I quickly quit the game and replied in a second. Yes. What's up? Shen, come downstairs. Those two words again. My scalp tingled. Now. I glanced at the time. It was 9:30 at night. Shun, yes. Me? Okay. Putting down my phone, I said to Wang Dahui and the others, Brothers, I have an emergency. I have to go. Damn it. Old Shun, you're screwing us over. We're about to push the high ground. Wang Dahui wailed. It's really something important. I'll treat you guys to a meal next time. I grabbed my jacket and rushed out. I jogged all the way downstairs. Under the street light at the entrance of the dormitory building, Shun Qingli was indeed standing there. She was wearing a long black trench coat today, which made her figure appear even taller and slender. The night wind blew her long hair, and a few strands brushed across her fair cheeks. The streetlight outlined the perfect profile of her side face, but her expression was a little cold. Classmate Shun. I ran over, a little out of breath. It's so late. What's the matter? She raised her eyes to look at me. Her dark eyes looked particularly deep in the night. Accompany me somewhere. Where to? I asked subconsciously. The hospital. The hospital? My heart tightened. Are you sick? I looked her up and down, my tone unconsciously laced with worry. She did look a little pale, but she seemed to be in good spirits. It's not me. Her tone was flat as she turned and walked towards the school gate. We'll drive. I hurried to keep up. The car sped towards the private hospital in the city center. At night, the hospital lacked the hustle and bustle of the daytime and was a bit more deserted. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. Shun Qingli, familiar with the way, led me through the quiet corridor to the outside of a VIP ward. She stopped. Wait for me here, she said, turning her head to me. Okay, I nodded. She pushed the door open and went in. I stood outside the door, and through the glass window on the door, I could vaguely see the situation inside. On the hospital bed lay a middle-aged woman with a haggard face who was on an 4-drip. Shun Qingli walked to the bedside, bent down, and seemed to be whispering something. Under the light, the lines of her side face softened a lot, with a kind of gentleness I had never seen before. I was a little lost in thought watching her. The Shun Qingli in my memory was always calm, distant, and even a little oppressive. This was the first time I had seen such a soft side of her. After about 10 minutes, the ward door opened. Shun Qingli walked out and gently closed the door behind her. The gentleness on her face had faded, replaced by her usual coolness. Let's go, she said in a low voice. Inside is, I couldn't help but ask, my mom. There was no fluctuation in her tone, but her steps were noticeably heavier than when we arrived. I didn't ask any more questions. I followed her out of the hospital and got into the car. She didn't start the car right away. Instead, she leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes. Her long eyelashes cast a small shadow beneath them. There was a hint of imperceptible fatigue between her brows. The car was silent. There was only the faint sound of the air conditioning vents. Looking at her slightly pale profile, my heart felt inexplicably heavy. After a moment's hesitation, I spoke softly. Is your mother okay? She didn't open her eyes. An old ailment. Her voice was a little hoarse. She needs to rest. Oh, I didn't know what to say. Words of comfort seemed so pale. Just now, she said suddenly, still with her eyes closed, she asked about you. Me? Asked about me? What did she ask me? I grew tense. She asked me, she paused, a very faint curve seeming to play on her lips, if I had a boyfriend. Me? A boyfriend? I almost choked on my own saliva. What? What did you say? My voice changed pitch. She finally opened her eyes. She turned her head to look at me. Her dark eyes were startlingly bright in the dim car, carrying a hint of amusement. I said, she deliberately drew out her words. I guess so. I guess so. What kind of answer is that? My face instantly burned hot. Shun, classmate Shun, this joke has gone too far. I stammered. A joke? She raised an eyebrow, leaning forward slightly, closer to me. That cool, fresh scent instantly drew near. When you were calling me wife in the game, that didn't seem like a joke. Me? Shot down again. Seeing my flustered state, her mood seemed to improve. A genuine curve appeared on her lips. Relax. She was just asking casually. She didn't take it seriously. Me? Well, I damn well took it seriously. She leaned back against the seat again and started the car. I'll take you back to school. The car drove into the night. We were silent the whole way, but the atmosphere no longer seemed as heavy as it had been on the way there. When we got back to my dorm, I unbuckled my seatbelt. Classmate Shun, I hesitated for a moment before speaking. Your mother will get better. Her fingers tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Her profile looked a little blurry in the streetlight. She answered softly. Thank you. Her voice was very quiet, with a hint of imperceptible softness. I froze for a second. Was she thanking me? And no problem. I quickly waved my hands. It's what I should do. She said no more. I opened the door and got out. Get some rest, she said, before rolling up the window. The car slid away silently. I stood there, watching the taillights disappear into the night. There was an indescribable feeling in my heart. A little sour, a little full. It was as if I had gotten a little closer to the high and mighty Shun Qingli. Monday morning, I had just arrived in the classroom when my professor called out to me. Chen Montag, come over here for a second. The professor had a smile on his face and clapped me on the shoulder. Attaboy, you've been hiding your talent. I was completely baffled. Huh, still playing dumb, the professor chuckled. Your project, didn't the investment department of the Shun Group take a liking to your optimization proposal? Their person in charge just called, said they're very interested and want to schedule a meeting with you to discuss future collaboration. Shun Group, my mind went buzz, isn't that? Shun Qingli's family company. Shun Group, my mind went completely blank. Shun Qingli's family company. My project, they're interested in it? This is too much of a coincidence. Professor, my voice trembled a little. Are you sure it's the Shun Group? The investment department. Of course it's real. The professor was ecstatic. They called my office directly, asked for you by name, said your hybrid proposal has great commercial potential. He clapped me hard on the shoulder. Good kid, you're bringing honor to our department. Prepare well. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I returned to my seat in a daze, my mind in turmoil. The Shun Group. Shun Qingli. Was it her? Did she see my project document and then... I quickly took out my phone and tapped on that ice blue profile picture. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I didn't know what to ask. Ask her if she did it? What if it wasn't her? Wouldn't that make me seem presumptuous? But if it was, why would she help me just because I'm her person? My mind was a mess. I was absent-minded all day. In the afternoon, following the address my advisor gave me, I arrived at the Shun Group headquarters. An imposing skyscraper, its glass curtain wall shimmering in the sunlight. The receptionist had exquisite makeup and a polite smile. Hello, do you have an appointment? Yes, Chen Mo, with Manager Zhang from the investment department. Okay, please wait a moment. She made a phone call, then smiled at me and said, Mr. Chen, Manager Zhang is waiting for you in the conference room on the 16th floor. The elevator is this way, please. Thank you. I walked into the elevator, watching the numbers change, my palms sweating a little. The 16th floor. The elevator doors opened. A capable-looking woman in a business suit, appearing to be in her 30s, was already waiting at the entrance. Student Shun Mo? She smiled and extended her hand. Hello, I'm Zhang Wei from the investment department. Hello, Manager Zhang. I quickly shook her hand. Come with me. She led me into a spacious and bright conference room. After we sat down, she got straight to the point. Student Shun, we've reviewed your campus security surveillance optimization proposal. It's very good. Her tone was professional and sincere, especially the hybrid solution. It balances cost and performance well and has great potential for commercial implementation. Thank you. I was a little flattered. We'd like to discuss the technical details with you. Manager Zhang pushed a document over. This is a preliminary letter of intent. You can take a look first. I took the document and looked down to read it. The terms were clear and fair. Even a little too generous? This. I pointed to one of the clauses. Joint ownership of the technology patent. Yes. Manager Zhang smiled. We respect originality and won't take advantage of you. These terms were too good to be true. I hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help asking. Manager Zhang, may I ask, how did you find out about my project? Manager Zhang's expression faltered subtly. Then she smiled. Well, the conference room door was suddenly pushed open. A familiar, tall figure walked in. Black suit, high heels, her long hair tied up. Her aura was so powerful it made the air in the entire conference room freeze. Shun Qingli. She was holding a document and walked to the conference table with a calm expression. Manager Zhang, take a look at this document. Her voice was cool and businesslike. Manager Zhang immediately stood up and took the document respectfully. Yes, Director Shun. Director Shun. My eyes widened as I stared at Shun Qingli in disbelief. When did she become a director? Shun Qingli seemed to only just notice me, raising an eyebrow slightly. Student Shun? Such good acting. Shun. Student Shun. I replied dryly. Manager Zhang looked at me, then at Shun Qingli, and a look of realization dawned on her face. So you two know each other? We're alumni. Shun Qingli's tone was flat, her gaze falling on the letter of intent in my hand. How are the talks going? Very smoothly, Manager Zhang said with a smile. Student Chin's project has a lot of potential. Shun Qingli nodded. Keep up the good discussion. After saying that, she turned to leave. Wait, the words slipped out of my mouth. She stopped and looked back at me. Is there something? Can we talk in private? I asked, bracing myself. The atmosphere in the conference room instantly became delicate. Manager Zhang's eyes darted between us, a faint smile playing on her lips. Shun Qingli looked at me for 2 seconds, then nodded. Follow me. She led me out of the conference room to a private office at the end of the hallway. The door closed. I immediately lowered my voice. Shun Qingli, what on earth is going on? She walked behind the desk and sat down gracefully. What is going on? Stop playing dumb. I was so anxious I could scratch my head raw. Director Shun? My project? You dare say you didn't arrange this? The corners of her lips turned up slightly. You did the project yourself. You wrote the proposal yourself. She paused, her dark eyes looking straight at me. Gave you an opportunity to showcase it. What? I pressed. I've said it before, her tone was calm. My people can't be shabby. Me? That line again. But this is too. I scratched my hair. This isn't fair. It's not fair to the other students. She allowed a soft laugh. In the business world, there is no such thing as absolute fairness to begin with. The opportunity is yours. Whether you can seize it is up to you. I was speechless. Any other questions? She glanced at her watch. I have another meeting. Yes. I craned my neck. When did you become a director? Summer internship, she said lightly. I performed well, so they gave me a nominal title. A summer internship gets you a directorship. What kind of god-tier performance is that? I was utterly convinced. Well, thank you, I said sullenly. You're welcome. She stood up and straightened her suit. Go back and prepare the technical proposal properly. The formal presentation is next week. Manager Zhang is very professional. He won't go easy on you because of me. I know. I puffed out my chest. I'll let my skills do the talking. She seemed amused by my reaction, the curve of her lips deepening. I'll be waiting to see it. In the days that followed, I worked on perfecting the project proposal with a manic energy, as if I'd been injected with chicken blood. Pulling all-nighters became the norm. Even Wang de Hammer couldn't stand to watch anymore. Old Shun, are you insane? Working so hard. You don't get it. I tapped away at my code without looking up. This is a rare opportunity. TCH. Wang de Hammer pursed his lips. Isn't it just the Shun group? Is it that serious? My fingers paused. How did you know it was the Shun group? Hee hee. Wang de Hammer grinned slyly. Just a guess. Seeing you running to the business school all the time and always smiling foolishly at your phone. Get lost. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at him. But I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from turning up. That's right, the Shun group. Shun Qingli's family company. She gave me a chance. I couldn't let her down. On the day of the formal presentation, I stood spiritedly in the Shun group's conference room, wearing the dark blue suit Shun Qingli had bought for me. Below the stage sat 7 or 8 executives, including Manager Zhang, and Shun Qingli, sitting in the last row. She was wearing a cream-colored suit today, her long hair unbound, her expression calm. But the light in her dark eyes somehow put me at ease. Taking a deep breath, I began my presentation. Hello, everyone. My project is an optimization of abnormal behavior recognition in campus security surveillance based on deep learning. My voice was clear, my logic flowed smoothly. Technical details were at my fingertips. The analysis of business prospects was on point. I even handled several tricky technical questions with fluent answers. I could see Manager Zhang and the other executives nodding frequently, their faces showing approval. In the back row, the corner of Shun Qingli's lips also seemed to curve up slightly. The presentation ended. Applause erupted. Absolutely brilliant. Manager Zhang stood up. Mr. Chun, our investment department unanimously agrees that your project has great value. Thank you. I was so excited my palms were sweating. We will draw up a contract with the specific details of our collaboration as soon as possible, Manager Zhang said with a smile. We look forward to working with you. Walking out of the conference room, I let out a long sigh of relief. I did it. I had truly won recognition through my own abilities. Not a bad performance. A cool, clear voice came from behind me. I turned around. Shun Qingli was standing there, the sunlight from the hallway's floor-to-ceiling windows spilling over her, coating her in a soft golden edge. Miss Shun, my eyes lit up. Did you see? They were very satisfied. She nodded, a flicker of emotion I couldn't read in her dark eyes. Much better than last time. Of course. I puffed out my chest. I can't embarrass you. She seemed to pause for a moment. Then, a genuine smile touched her lips. My judgment, as expected, was not wrong. The project collaboration was officially finalized. The Shun Group would invest, the university would provide technical support, and I would participate as the core developer. When the news spread, I instantly became a star in my department. Even classmates who usually paid me no mind started to greet me proactively. Shen Montak, you're awesome. You even landed the Shun Group. You were hiding your talents. Treat us, treat us. I smiled and played along, but in my heart I knew all of this stemmed from that seemingly coincidental opportunity. It stemmed from Shun Qingli. Over the weekend, I asked her out to dinner to thank her formally. The chosen location was a nice restaurant near the university. I arrived half an hour early, nervously checking my clothes and repeatedly practicing what I was going to say. Been waiting long? A cool, clear voice asked. I looked up. Shun Qingli was wearing a light blue dress today, her long hair unbound, looking much softer than usual. In the sunlight, her beauty was almost unreal. No, I just got here. I quickly stood up. Have a seat. She sat down across from me. The waiter brought the menus. I let her order first. You order. She pushed the menu back. I'm not picky. Oh, okay. I ordered a few of the signature dishes and a bottle of red wine. I began, choosing my words carefully, about the project. Thank you. Really, don't mention it. She lifted her water glass and took a sip. It was the result of your own hard work. But you gave me the chance, I said earnestly. She looked up at me, her dark eyes deep, so I took a deep breath. I want to thank you formally. This meal is on me. Don't fight me on it. She seemed amused by my antics, the corners of her lips turning up slightly. All right. The food arrived quickly. We ate and chatted. The atmosphere was much more relaxed than I had imagined. Oh, right. I suddenly remembered something. Your mother. Is she feeling better? Her chopsticks paused for a moment. Yes, much better. That's good. I breathed a sigh of relief. Say hello to your auntie for me. Okay. She nodded, then gave me a meaningful look. She's been wanting to meet you. Puffed. I nearly spat out my mouthful of red wine. Meet me. MHM. Her tone was calm. She said she wants to see what kind of boy could make me bring him to the hospital myself. Me? This is a huge misunderstanding. Classmate Shun. I was so anxious I was scratching my head. Didn't you explain to her? We're not in that kind of relationship. What kind of relationship? She retorted, raising an eyebrow. You know, boyfriend and girlfriend. My voice grew quieter and quieter. Aren't we? She put down her chopsticks, her dark eyes looking straight at me. Weren't you the one calling me wifey in the game? Weren't you the one who said you missed me on WeChat? Weren't you the one who went to the hot springs with me at the resort? Weren't you the one who tacitly acted as my boyfriend in front of my mom? The series of questions hit me one after another, leaving my head spinning. I stammered, my face hot enough to fry an egg on it. Chun Mo. She suddenly became serious, using my full name. Be my boyfriend. My eyes widened as I stared at her in disbelief. Her expression was calm, but her dark eyes were stunningly bright. Not in a game, not on WeChat, not in front of my mom. A real boyfriend. Be my boyfriend. Her voice was soft, yet it exploded in my ears like a clap of thunder. I stared at Shun Qingli across from me, my eyes wide with disbelief. Her expression was calm, but her dark eyes were stunningly bright. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting dappled light and shadows on her delicate profile. Unrealistically beautiful. Are you serious? My voice trembled. Do I look like I'm joking? She retorted. No, Shun Qingli never joked. What? I couldn't help but ask. Why me? She tilted her head slightly, as if thinking. Because your voice sounds very nice when you call me wifey. You look very handsome when you block skills for me in the game. Your serious expression when you revise project documents is very cute. And she paused, looking directly into my eyes. The way you're obviously a coward, but you still always try to protect others. It's very charming. Me? What? What kind of reasons are these? My face was hot enough to fry an egg on, and my heart was beating wildly in my chest, about to leap out. So, I stammered. You've liked me for a while. MHM. She admitted it frankly. Otherwise, why would I have forced you to take responsibility? Then, in the game, I did it on purpose. The corners of her lips lifted slightly, to see when you would figure out. Me. So this was her setup from the very beginning. Then now, my mind was a mess. Chen Montak. She suddenly reached out, her fingertips lightly brushing the back of my hand. The cool touch sent a shiver through me. Answer me. Are you willing? Willing? I looked at her face, so close to mine, her dark eyes clearly reflecting my dazed expression, and a trace of something I had never seen before, an almost soft anticipation. My heartbeat was so loud it felt like the whole restaurant could hear it. I am. I practically shouted. My voice was loud enough to draw glances from several nearby tables. I quickly lowered my head, my face burning bright red. She smiled. Not a faint, teasing smile, but a real, bright, genuine smile that came from the heart. So beautiful I couldn't look away. Well then, boyfriend. She raised her wine glass and gently clinked it against mine. Please take care of me. Please take care of me too. I fumbled to pick up my glass and drained it in one gulp. The alcohol slid down my throat, bringing a burning sensation, just like the emotions churning in my chest at this moment. Scalding, fiery, almost melting me. After dinner, we walked side by side on campus. The night was gentle, and the halos of the streetlights cast two long shadows on the ground. Her hand at some point had gently hooked my finger. The cool touch, however, made my whole body heat up. Shun, classmate Shun. I mustered up the courage and held her hand in return. Are we officially dating now? What else? She raised an eyebrow. Then can I? I swallowed hard. Can I call you by your name? Qingli, she corrected. Or, she leaned close to my ear, her breath warm. Wifey. Me. Who could handle this? Qingli. I quickly chose the safer option. She seemed a little disappointed, but didn't tease me further. Oh, right. She suddenly remembered something. There's a business reception next week. You're coming with me. I was stunned. What reception? The Shin Corporation's annual reception. Her tone was casual. As my boyfriend. Me? Meeting the parents this soon? Are you nervous? I asked dryly. A little. She admitted, a rare occurrence, then looked at me. You'll be with me, right? In those dark eyes, a trace of unease I had never seen before flickered, like the occasional vulnerability of a high and mighty queen. My heart softened, and I squeezed her hand. Of course. I puffed out my chest. Boyfriend's duty. She smiled and leaned on my shoulder. MHM. Mine. On the day of the reception, I stood in front of the mirror, repeatedly checking the custom-made suit Shun Qingli had specially prepared for me. Old Shun, you look drop-dead gorgeous. Wang Dachui clicked his tongue in amazement beside me. This suit must cost over 10,000, right? Don't touch it. I slapped his hand away. You'll wrinkle it. TCH. Wang Dachui pouted. Look at you, getting so nervous just to meet the parents. Oh, who's nervous? I said stubbornly, but my palms were indeed sweating. At the Shun family's reception, the guests would surely be business magnates. Could a poor student like me handle it? My phone vibrated. Qingli, I'm downstairs. I took a deep breath, grabbed the prepared gift, and rushed downstairs. That familiar black car was parked below the dormitory. The window rolled down. Shun Qingli was wearing a wine-red evening gown today, her long hair pinned up, revealing her slender neck. Her makeup was exquisite, her red lips like fire, breathtakingly beautiful. Get in. She nodded slightly. I pulled the car door open and got in, my palms sweating from nervousness. Did you bring the gift? She asked. I did. I held up the gift box in my hand, just as you said, tea and a silk scarf. MHM. She nodded, then glanced at me. Don't be nervous. I'm not nervous. I insisted. She chuckled lightly and reached out to adjust my tie. You look great. Those 3 simple words warmed my heart. The car drove to the most luxurious hotel in the city center. The elevator went straight to the top-floor banquet hall. The moment the doors opened, I was stunned by the scene before me. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, guests in magnificent attire, clinking glasses and fragrant shadows. Qingli, a middle-aged man, walked over. His face was stern, but his eyes softened considerably when he saw Shun Qingli. Dad, Shun Qingli called out softly. My whole body stiffened. This is the legendary Chairman Shun. And this is... Father Shun's gaze fell on me, scrutinizing. Chinemo, my boyfriend. Shun Qingli's tone was calm, yet carried an unquestionable firmness. Hello, uncle. I quickly bowed and handed over the gift with both hands, a small token. Father Shin took the gift and gave me a meaningful look. I've heard Qingli mention you. His tone was flat. That campus security project, well done. Thank you, uncle. I was flattered. Go on. Father Shun waved his hand. Your mother is waiting to see you. Shun Qingli led me through the crowd to an elegant middle-aged woman. Mom, she called softly, this is Chun Mo. Hello, Aunt. I quickly greeted her. Mother Shun looked much better than she did at the hospital, her smile gentle. Little Chun, I finally get to meet you. She took my hand. Qingli always mentions you. I looked at Shun Qingli in surprise. She actually mentioned me often? Shun Qingli turned her face away, the tips of her ears turning slightly red. Mom, don't talk nonsense. Shy. Mother Shun laughed teasingly. How rare. The rest of the cocktail party went surprisingly smoothly. Shun Qingli stayed by my side the whole time, introducing me to all sorts of people. Whenever I didn't know how to respond, she would gracefully step in to help. Chun Mo, this is Uncle Wang, the group's vice president. Hello, Aunt Lee, this is Chun Mo, my boyfriend. His project has great prospects. Manager Zhang thinks highly of it. She introduced me to everyone like this. Not my boyfriend Chun Mo, but Chun Mo, my boyfriend. Putting my name first, as if telling everyone, he isn't someone who relies on me. He is excellent in his own right. This detail warmed my heart. As the party drew to a close, I went to the restroom. When I came out, I ran into Father Shun in the hallway. He was leaning by the window, a wine glass in his hand, seemingly waiting for me. Uncle, I greeted him respectfully. Chen Montak. Father Shun called me by my first name. Shall we talk? My heart tightened and I nodded. Qingli has always had her own ideas since she was little. Father Shin looked at the night view outside the window, his tone calm. Many people pursued her, but she never fell for anyone. Until she met you. I was stunned. Me? I couldn't believe it, but I'm so ordinary. In her eyes, you are not ordinary. Father Shun turned to look at me. What she values is your sincerity and potential. So, don't disappoint her. My nose tingled, and I nodded heavily. I will work hard. Father Shun patted my shoulder. Go. She's waiting for you. Returning to the banquet hall, Shun Qingli was waiting for me by the balcony. The moonlight shone on her, beautiful like a painting. What did my dad say to you? She asked. He said, I looked at her exquisite profile, that you love me very much. The tips of her ears turned red. Nonsense. Isn't it? I boldly moved closer. Miss Shun? Annoying. She turned her face away, but the corners of her mouth slightly curved upwards. I gathered my courage and took her hand. Qingli. Thank you. Thank me for what? Thank you. I looked at her profile in the moonlight, for choosing me. She turned her head back, her dark eyes shining astonishingly in the moonlight. Then, she stood on tiptoe and lightly kissed my lips. You're welcome, my boyfriend. After we officially started dating, Shun Qingli's Yandere tendencies seemed to have mellowed a lot. She no longer threatened to break my legs at every turn. Instead, she adopted more gentle methods. For example, bringing me a loving bento every day and forcing me to eat it in public. Eat more. She sat across from me, supervising me until I finished the last bite. You're too thin. Where am I thin? I protested. I have abs, okay. Oh, really? She raised an eyebrow. Let me see. Me? In broad daylight. In the cafeteria? Is this appropriate? Another example. Checking all the contacts of the opposite sex on my phone. Who is this cute junior sister? She narrowed her eyes. That's Wang Dachui. I quickly explained. It's his game ID. What about this sweetie? That's Professor Zhang. His WeChat name is Sweet to Sadness. Oh, but what surprised me most was when my supervisor was giving me a hard time. She snatched my phone directly. I wrote the paper. If you have any issues, come to me. Her tone was icy and undeniable. The supervisor on the other end of the phone was instantly speechless. Shun, student Shun. The supervisor's voice changed pitch. You wrote this paper? Yes. Shun Qingli didn't bat an eye. Problem? No. It's very well written. Excellent. After hanging up the phone, I stared at her dumbfounded. You? Why did you say the paper was written by you? Otherwise, she raised an eyebrow. Watch you get bullied. But you wrote the first draft. I revised the framework, she said self-righteously. It counts as co-creation. Any problem? Me? It seems. She wasn't wrong? In short, days with Shun Qingli by my side were both sweet and full of surprises. Until one day, I was live-streaming a game in my dorm. I was just playing casually, and there were only a few dozen viewers. Suddenly, the comments exploded. Holy crap, who's that beauty in the back? Isn't that our school's perennial top scholar? Shun Qingli, how is she in your dorm? I whipped my head around. Shun Qingli was standing behind me at some point. She had just showered, her long hair still dripping water, wearing my t-shirt, which was just long enough to cover her thighs. Breathtakingly sexy. Baby, it's time to log off and be with me. She leaned in and lightly kissed my ear. The comments section instantly exploded. Oh, what did I just hear? Baby, what's your relationship? Holy crap. Chinamo, you actually managed to get the school bell? I fumbled to turn off the live stream, but it was already too late. That night, the campus forum blew up. Shocking. Computer science, major, Chen Mo, and business schools, Shun Qingli, are suspected of cohabiting. Pictures as proof. The school belle wearing her boyfriend's shirt. Live stream accident. The ice-cold academic genius privately calls her boyfriend baby. I looked at the screen full of posts on the verge of tears. It's over. Now the whole school knows. Shun Qingli, however, remained calm, leaning in my arms and scrolling on her phone. What's wrong with him knowing? She raised an eyebrow. Am I not presentable? No. I quickly shook my head. I'm afraid it will affect you. Chun Mo, she suddenly said, her expression serious. Look at me. I obediently looked up. She cupped my face, her dark eyes looking straight into mine. I like you, so I don't mind if the whole world knows. Do you understand? My nose tingled, and I nodded heavily. I understand. She smiled contentedly, pecking my lips lightly. Good boy. Then, she picked up my phone and took a photo of her intertwined fingers. What are you doing? I asked curiously. Making it official, she said, her fingers moving quickly. A problem. The next second, my Moments WeChat feed and the campus forum updated simultaneously. Shun Xingli's account posted a photo of us holding hands. The caption, my, simple, clear, and utterly assertive. The comments section instantly exploded. Holy crap, is this real? Shun, the academic genius, actually made it official herself? Chinemo, you lucky bastard. What have you done to deserve this? I looked at the comments, my heart bubbling with sweetness. I turned to look at the calm, Shun Qingli beside me, and couldn't help but lean in and kiss her. What was that for? She raised an eyebrow. Just stamping it, I said with a grin. Mine. She froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Childish. But the curve of her lips couldn't be suppressed. The end.